Hi everyone, and welcome to another video from the Board Games Herald channel. And this is another mini tutorial totally in English. And for this mini tutorial we're going to talk about Fight for Inheritance. This is a game from Red Cannon Games, and it's a game for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, and it takes about 10 to 30 minutes. In Fight for Inheritance, the Krazy king is in his deathbed, and as he lays down dying, he makes a daring to all his children. Either there is only one heir to the entire fortune, or all the fortune is going to go down to the bottom of the ocean. So while the greedy heirs must take care of the other competition and be the sole winner of the king's crazy fortune, and that's why they're going to fight for inheritance. Separate the cards into assassination attempt cards, bodyguard cards, royal character cards, and action cards, including the gold. Shuffle the royal character cards and deal one secretly to each player. The rest can go back into the game box. Next, take all the bodyguard cards and deal 2 to each player. The rest will stay face up in the center of the table. Then shuffle all the action cards and deal 7 to each player. These 10 cards are the player's initial hand. The player's hand is kept secret always during the game. Also give one action summary sheet to each player. Next, add assassination attempt cards into the action deck cards according to the number of players. For 2 players, shuffle 1 card into the action deck. For 3 players, cut the deck in half and shuffle 1 assassination attempt card into each of its halves, stacking each half and making an action deck. For 4 players, cut the deck into 3 equal parts and shuffle 1 assassination attempt card into each part, stacking the parts afterwards, making an action deck. Keep the 4-sided die close to all players. Also, the 2-player modifications and rules are explained on page 12 of the rulebook, and we are ready to play Fight for Inheritance. The goal of the game is to assassinate all other players and taking them out of the game, being the player the sole heir to the Krazy king's fortune. The game will take place through consecutive turns, starting with the oldest player and going around the table clockwise. Each player will take their turn. On his turn, a player can play any number of action cards and spend gold for gold spend actions. Also, each player can use his royal decree card once per game. After doing his turn, the player will draw the top card from the action deck and pass the turn to the player to the left. Players can also react to some actions of other players during another player's turn, for instance, vetoing some actions. Each action card has an ability, either giving an advantage to the player that plays it or a disadvantage to an opponent. A player can play any number of action cards during his turn. After playing a card and doing what it says, the card will be discarded into a common discard pile. A player can also spend gold to do any number of gold spend actions. Spend coins by discarding the gold coins into the treasury pile. The player will get change for spending gold unless there is no gold left in the treasury pile. When a player uses a clairvoyance card, one player can pay 1 gold to hire a spy. The player will then use the 4-sided die. The other player that played the clairvoyance card must reveal a card according to the result of the D4 roll. On a 1, the other player will reveal the first drawn card. On a 2, the player will reveal the second drawn card. On a 3, the player will reveal the third drawn card. And on a 4, the player that used the hiring spy action will choose which card the player who played the clairvoyance will reveal. A player can spend 2 gold to make an excuse for absence. After spending the 2 gold, the player will immediately end his turn without drawing a card. A player may spend 3 gold to choose another player and bribe one of his bodyguards. After paying the 3 gold, the player will choose another player and that player must give him a bodyguard. Unless that player plays an action that prevents this. If that player has no bodyguards left, he won't give any, but the player will get 2 gold back from the 3 he spent. If a player's bodyguard is bribed, that player can spend 4 golds to make a counter offer. If the player that was targeted by the bribe pays 4 gold, he counters that bribe and doesn't have to give any bodyguards to the player that made the bribe, and that player who made the bribe will still lose their gold. Also, a player can spend 5 golds to hire another bodyguard. After playing 5 gold, the player will draw a bodyguard card and add it to his hand. This action can be vetoed. Each player's royal card has a unique and powerful ability that can only be used once per game. To activate this ability, the player will play the royal character card from his hand and will carry out the ability detailed on the card. The card will stay face up on the table for the rest of the game as a reminder that its ability has been used. After the player does all their actions, he will end his turn by drawing a card from the top of the action deck and adding it to his hand, passing the turn to the player to the left. Unless the player draws an assassination attempt card. If a player draws an assassination attempt card, he must reveal it immediately to all players. The player must then discard the bodyguard card from his hand to the bodyguard deck. If the player survives, he will put the assassination attempt card back into the action deck at any place inside the deck. If the player does not have any bodyguard cards, he will be assassinated and eliminated from the game, placing all his cards in front of him, including the assassination attempt card that assassinated him. If a player draws a secret bribe card, he will put it secretly in his hand, but he can place it face up on top of the table at any point during the game, and this action can't be vetoed. The secret bribe card can either be played for everyone to see or hidden beneath another card or item on the table. At the end of his next turn, if the secret bribe was not discovered by other players, he may declare he made a secret bribe and show the card to all players. After that, that player will choose a player and that player will give him a bodyguard from his hand. If that player does not have a bodyguard card, the player may choose another player for the bodyguard card and keep doing this until he gets a bodyguard card. If no other player has a bodyguard card, he will take one from the bodyguard deck. But if another player discovers the secret bribe card that was hidden, he will take a bodyguard card from the player who played the secret bribe card. If that player does not have a bodyguard card, the player that discovered the ruse will take one from the bodyguard deck and add it to his hand. The game will end when only one player is left in the game and all other players have been assassinated. That player will win, fight for inheritance and gain all Krazy King's fortune and his throne. And that's how you play Fight for Inheritance.